Hello YouTube and hello Ninth Age community. This is Charles with Evershade Gaming and I've got another Ninth Age battle report. This is a game I played, goodness gracious, a couple months ago now in August against Saurian Ancients. Finally putting it together and I'm going to kind of just talk about the lists while we look at deployment, and I'll put the actual list in the description, mostly because the list will sort of be what I think was there for the most part. We played marching columns and breakthrough as our deployment and objective.
Starting off with spells, my BSB had the Crown of the Wizard King, and he picked up Know Thy Enemy. It's just a good spell. And then I had Cosmology, and my magical heirloom, I took Quicksilver Lash, and then I had Touch of the Heart, Ice and Fire, Truth and Time, and Perception of Strength. This is starting with deployment with marching columns. My opponent put a spear back down. This is a picture of his spells. So he's got Pyromancy on his Causal Lord. And he took Spark of Creation, Pyroclastic Flow, Enveloping Embers, and Flaming Sword. And then on his Stygiosaur, he has Savage Fury and Awaken the Beast. So these are my first two drops in marching column. So I put down one of my units of 6 riders with Brace Pistol, and then I put my unit of 8 riders down with repeater guns. And this is my opponent's second one. He got to actually start, so he's a little bit ahead of me. This he put down a unit of 6 Caimans with Halberds, and then he was able to put down his Stygiosaur. I put down one of my units of Flagellants, and then my opponent was able to drop the rest of his deployment. So he put down his big Blockosaurus, his Causal Lord with some skinks with bows in the middle, a Thyroscutus, a Saurian Warlord on an Alpha Carno, 5 Raptor Riders, and 2 more Spearbacks. So kind of for his list, it's pretty simple. He's got 2 Spearback units, one with 2, one with 1. The unit of Caimans, 6 strong. The Stygiosaur with the Mystic Traveler upgrade. Serpent, Spear, Saurus block. Causal Lord, he was looking at a tournament build. It's kind of the one that's been floating around. That's got Pyro, Alchemy, Essence the Free Mind. He's got the it might be Master Reality. It's the one where he gets to change the Bale tokens at a 2-to-1 instead of a 3-to-1 ratio for power dice. Skinks with Bows, Thyroscutus with the extra channel, Sun Engine, Alpha Carno. The dude on top has the Starfall Shard to give him hard target and the Flaming, to a Flaming Aegis, and then he's got paired weapons with Touch of Greatness, and then he's got the Obsidian Rock. And I want to say the Raptor Riders might have a Musician or a Champion, but I don't really remember it being that important. So looking at the rest of my deployment, again, I'll put both of these lists, or I think the closest representation of the lists, down in the description of the video. But I had another unit, another unit of 6 riders, Brace of Pistols, Champion with a repeater gun. So the whole unit has, I think, 14 shots? Yeah, 14 shots. And then I have 24 flags with a champion, unit of heavy infantry with halberds, musician, a champion, my wizard master, a cart with cosmology. He's got the alchemist alloy, the winter cloak, and he's rocking a lightning reflexes cart, and he's also got a magical heirloom. And then I have my 2 characters in a big block of heavy infantry with spears. I have a great tactician, Marshal, who I want to say was just rocking a 1-up armor save with the black plate. He's got the death warrant to give himself battle focus and hopefully one of the support units nearby. And I feel like he had something else, but I couldn't quite remember it. And then I had a BSB who had the Crown of the Wizard King, and I also want to say a 1-up. But I can't exactly remember how. He might have just had a 2-up with the Willow's Ward or something. And I have 2 more units of heavy infantry with musician, champion, and halberds. They're both in that runes. I have a steam tank, and I have 24 flagellants with champion, and then I have my 2 other units of riders. One's 8 strong with repeater guns. The other is 6 strong with a champion with a repeating pistol. So yeah, sort of kind of mirrored my 6, and then I kind of wanted to try running a list with the 20 riders. So this unit of riders vanguards to be right here. And then I just sort of vanguard these riders over. I knew my opponent dropped for turn 1, so I felt that if I put the riders behind the flagellants, they'd be able to shoot at the Alpha Carno if it came forward. And then I just wanted to hold back my other unit of riders, mostly because it's breakthrough, and I need to use them as a deterrent against those source cav, and I can't really get too close to the spearbacks without them just blowing me out of the water. So this is my opponent's turn 1 of Saurian Ancients. So he moves just about everything forward. Nothing really holds back. On the right there, you can see he was able to get those spearbacks in the forest, which was really good for him. That's going to be really hard to dislodge. And yeah, I mean, I would say mildly aggressive. Nothing really necessarily overcommitted. There's a decent charge attempt for the Carnosaur turn 2 into the steam tank. And yeah, overall pretty effective movement, I would say. He moved the Stygiosaur up. I want to say he's got Symbiosis on his Cthulhu Lord too. That just came to me randomly. But he moved up his Stygiosaur, so that it has range on the riders, and he moved up the one spearback on the left there, so he can shoot at the riders. It's not within short range, but it'll be at long range. He gets Flux Card 5. Thankfully, he casts Spark, and I dispel it. And then he fails to cast Pyroclastic Flow, which was very helpful, because those are his only 2 magic missiles, so these guys are safe. He does get Enveloping Embers off, though, which kills, 5 flagellants, so not too bad. And he's able to get Awaken the Beast off for resilience on this guy too, so also pretty good. And then I got really lucky over here where this thing shoots. I think he only got like 2 hits, and I was able to armor save one of them because these guys have heavy armor too. So I got really lucky there where I didn't suffer any casualties. I do lose another flagellant to bows, and this is Empire Sonnstahl turn 1. So you can see my orders. So I have 3 orders, 2 from the Great Tactician, 1 from the BSB, and I put Steady Men on the unit of heavy infantry next to the big block. I put on the double on the one in the runes, so they can move 5 inches this turn instead of just 4. And then I was able to put on the double on the one next to the big block of spears on the right there, and I was able to move him in a way that the Alpha Carnosaur would not be able to complete a charge against the steam tank. So effectively just sort of giving me an extra turn, and if it charges in the front, there's no way it can put the steam tank either. And I also move up my flagellants. This is sort of the rest of my moves. I move up my 6 riders behind the hill so that they can't really be seen by much, but they have the option to go out and do something if they want, maybe next turn. And I move up my flagellants on the left there behind the wall. I'm kind of comfortable them being there. They don't really need to necessarily go forward unless there's something for their advantage. And I'm able to move up my riders on the left to hopefully get rid of that spearback this turn. I get Flux Card 7 this turn. I throw a Quicksort Lash, but my opponent dispels it. And this was the dice roll. I think he just barely beat me by 1. And then I'm able to get Perception and Strength off in case something wants to charge the flagellants. And then, oh man, this was really disappointing. I shoot over here, and I only do 2 wounds, which is just a little bit below average. So that is not good. And going into my opponent's turn 2. So the Caimans on the hill are, they got a little bit of that hill advantage, so they're thinking about trying to use it. and they declare a charge on these heavy infantry, and they fail it. And then over here, my opponent charges with the Thyroscutus and the Raptor Riders into the heavy infantry. He sort of just repositions his Alpha Carno back. He kind of reforms his center. He moves his Stygiosaur, so he has Arc of Sight on the riders on my the left flank. And yeah, that's what we're looking like right now. My opponent gets Awaken the Beast off Resilience to make it harder for my Steam Tank to wound this guy. And then he does a Spark of Creation, and he gets a really high roll, so I let him go off. Kills 4. And then unfortunately the last 2 guys get murdered too, which I was really bummed about. I was hoping after turn 1 that these guys would just be able to kill this one spearback and then to be a nuisance the rest of the game, but it was not meant to be. I think the spearbacks kill a couple of flags on the hill. The bows kill the spearmen. And in combat, I'm able to stand just because I got a rank, and I was able to move within 8 inches of my my parent unit, so they had their ranks, and I did end up killing, I think, 1 Raptor Rider. It looks like, yeah, I did kill 1 Raptor Rider. So even if I didn't, I did need the parent unit because I'm pretty sure the Stygios or the Thyroscutus has a rank too. So yeah, that was very helpful. So yeah, that's the combat right there. This is going into Empire Sonnstahl 2, looking at orders. Again, I think I just put on the double on most of them and steady min on the 1 in combat. I charge with the Flagellants in the flank of this bad boy here. And this is what we're looking like. So I kind of move up my big block of spears a little bit to possibly be a threat in the middle. I kind of want them maybe to be able to engage with something. I've got, my support units on the flank trying to help me out. And yeah, we're just trying to threaten the Alpha Carno. And I moved up my steam tank. I debated about putting the steam tank into the Thyroscutus by rolling 5d3, but then I didn't really feel like taking the dangerous terrain rolls, and I kind of wanted to shoot the Alpha Carnosaur. And this turn I did make a play on my right flank. I moved up all my riders. I just figured I'm going to try and pump all my shots, hoping to maybe kill just 1, and then, not, make it that my opponent really can't destroy both, but hoping to do something with the riders on the right flank there. I put Truth of Time on these guys to make it a little bit harder for them to charge. And that's all we got off for magic. I get pretty fortunate here, and these guys shoot the Brace Pistol guys, and they actually shoot really well. And they kill 1 right away, and it panics, which is incredible. And then my cannon hits, wounds, and does that sweet 3 wounds on the Alpha Carno, which was beautiful. So even with that +1 resilience, I was able to get past that. This is going into combat. These are my opponent's armor saves against the Flagellants, so I'm able to do 4 wounds to the Thyroscutus, almost kill it. The Raptor Riders just wipe out the rest of the heavy infantry, and unfortunately that allows them to turn right around, so they're looking at the riders by the forest. Unfortunately, I definitely didn't see that coming. And he charges here, and he attempts to charge the Alpha Carno, and he fails. So I got really fortunate here, mostly just because I feel like I just want to avoid that fight as long as possible. This guy continues to flee, surprisingly. This is the rest of the Saurian Ancients turn 3 movement. He didn't really charge with the Caimans because they just kind of didn't really have that opportunity. He moves up his Saurus, somewhat aggressively to, be in an easy charge range of my Spearman unit. And yeah, we're just sort of looking at each other in the middle and trying to get rid of that Thyroscutus and trying to figure out how I'm going to get rid of those Saurus Cav on the flank there. He tosses a Spark of Creation at these guys, and he kills 3. I want to say I stop a Pyclastic Flow because I passed a panic test, and I didn't really want to lose anymore. And I try to stop an Enveloping Embers, but with 6 dice, I fail to stop it, and I lose a 10 or so heavy infantry, unfortunately. My opponent is able to get Awaken the Beast off again on this guy for resilience. He's trying to just keep him alive any way he can. The Raptor Riders have no problem wiping out the Riders. They lost 1 on the stand and shoot in, and that was about it. And thankfully, the Flagellants are able to do the job, and they get rid of the Thyroscutus. So that was great. This is Empire Sonnstahl turn 3, so I decided after the Flagellants killed the Thyroscutus, I really wanted to make sure I got rid of those Saurus Calves, so they charged into them. I just held my steam tank back, figured the cannon will just keep plugging into it. I moved my heavy infantry back, kind of moved my whole center line back to just be a little bit more protective, and yeah, I'm having to think about it. I think my card actually was a distracting card because I put it within 6 inches of the steam tank, and there really wouldn't have been a reason to do that otherwise, which probably makes sense. I probably wanted the extra perception of strength to put on the spearman or anybody else, and I'm keeping my heavy infantry or my flagellants just behind the wall. They're just kind of ready to deal with those caiman if they ever want to come forward. And it's not like they can go score and in the enemy's deployment zone. I got Flux card 4 this round. I'm able to get Perception Strength off. Really just want to make sure I get rid of these guys so they can't get the objective. That's pretty much it. For Magic, was able to kill them. As you can see, I take these casualties. There's 6 flags left. Turn them around. Yeah, the rest of the shooting was impactful. I'm trying to just get rid of trying to use the Riders on the hill to get rid of the 1 remaining spearback on the right flank, but I can't do any wounds to it. At the start of Saurian Ancient's turn 4, the Alpha Carno finally makes it into combat. And I had a lot of movement from the center. He chaffs the Flagellants and moves up the Caimans so that they really don't have a long charge. And yeah, he kind of moves up the Stygiosaur on the right too to be sort of a backup for the Alpha Carno, and I think he wants to get the +1 resilience spell off if he can. He gets Flux card 1, thankfully, which helps. He tosses the Spark, and I let it go because he's got a lot of buffs I need to stop, and only kills 1, which is great. And then able to stop the rest of his spells. In combat, I'm able to do 2 wounds, and my opponent does 3. So I felt like that was a pretty fair trade. I want to say, it came from a combination. I want to say maybe the Alpha Carno did 2, and the Warlord on top did 1. So I felt like that was not too bad at all. And then this is going into Empire Sonnstahl turn 4. So I want to get rid of the chaff on my left flank, so the heavy infantry charge the spearback. And I am able to charge the Stygiosaur with the Flagellants, mostly just because at this point, they're tied up, want to do some wounds to it. My opponent won't be able to use it, as a part of the symbiosis, and maybe if I get lucky and it takes 2 rounds for my opponent to kill all those flags, it'll still be there for possibly the steam tank to come get it. I get Flux card 8, which is great. Needed a good magic phase. And I get it. So my opponent stops Touch of the Heart on the steam tank. He does not want me to take a wound off. I'm able to get Perception of Strength off to reduce the strength of the Alpha Carno and the Warlord, which is great. And then I'm also able to get Know Thy Enemy off, and I actually threw 5 4s, and it +1 and it -1 to still be Amnesia, so my DSP loses that spell. Because we had, Flex card 8 has a -1, and 5 dice is a +1. And as you can see, I beat my opponent's spell roll. So I'm going to be able to go first with the Steam Tank now, and I'm hoping to just straight up kill the Alpha Carnosaur. And I'm able to put Guiding Light on this guy for the BSB, so they ended up getting all the orders this turn to really make sure that I killed these, the Spearback, and I think with all those attacks and all that discipline, they should not only be able to kill it, but wherever they possibly flee to, they'll still be alive. And indeed, they do kill it. They lose one guy for their struggle. They turn around to look like this. And then the Steam Tank's able to kill the Alpha Carno, which was great. I just had to do that one more wound. I was very happy about that. Plan went right here. I think I may have done a wound with the Flagellants, and he was only able to kill 4. So he's going to have to kill them next turn on his turn, which is great. And I'll be able to sort of figure out what I want to do on my turn. The Caimans charge with heavy infantry, and they flee. I do not really want them getting into that unit. And they attempt to go into the Flagellants, but they fail their charge again. On Saurian Ancients, this is going into, I think, turn 5 now. My opponent's able to get Enveloping Embers off, kills a bunch more guys. He was able to get a Spark off on the Steam Tank. He does one more wound. And he's able to shoot the Spearback into these guys. Can't quite kill them, which is nice. This is, I think, after shooting. And yep, the Stygiosaur kills the last 2 Flagellants, but that's perfect. It's taken 2 wounds now, and now it's sort of ripe for a magic missile. And as you can see last turn, my opponent was a bit maybe aggressive, or maybe just not quite looking out for it. But he moved up his Saurus, and he put him in a way that I was able to march up my heavy infantry, since this is breakthrough. And we are looking to score with something, and I move it up to sort of threaten the Cthulhu Lord, threaten the Skinks with bows, and I move up my Steam Tank. I just move it up 43 so I can shoot the cannon too, and I almost actually ran into the Stygiosaur. And yeah, I move up my Wizard. I'm going to toss some magic missiles at this guy, and I am able to rally those heavy infantry. I'm able to get Quicksilver Lash off, and it does kill this guy, so I was very happy about that. That's really great. And between actually the Steam Tank Cannon and this Rider, we're able to kill that last Spearback, so that was awesome too. And this is going into Saurian Ancients turn 6. The Caimans finally get into combat against the Flagellants there on the left. Kind of felt like I tried to put that off as long as possible, and I was somewhat successful in doing that. And, my opponent, knowing this is his last turn, he just moves his Cthulhu Lord into the Source Warriors, and he chaffs my heavy infantry with his Skinks so that they can try and deny me the objective. He gets Flux Card 7. He puts Flaming Swords up on the Skink just to give him any fighting chance possible. And goes into combat over here. I roll kind of like butt, and I only kill 1 Caiman. He does a decent amount of damage. He kills 12 flags, so he killed over half of them, but this was pretty much all I needed. It was the chances of him killing 24 flags with 6 Caiman are incredibly high. You'd have to pretty much hit and wound with just about everything he's got. I think he only had a way to deal 27 wounds with 6 Caiman and 3 stomps. So that's great. These guys can't score because they need to go basically 1 more inch to score, because just barely beyond that wall would have been good enough for them. I put Steady Man and Brace for Mech on these guys and charge them into the Skinks. I also put the Steam Tank into the flank to just have as much combat res as possible. The heavy infantry with spears were not going anywhere. They took a ton of wounds last turn for the Pyromancy, since they were pretty much the only target for all the spells. So they are just sitting back. It's turn 6. All hopes rest on the heavy infantry, rolling through the Skinks and then rolling along Overrun. And by golly, George, they did it. They, between the steam tank's help and just the heavy infantry, all the attacks they had, they're able to kill all but a few skinks. And then they overrun, and they ran 11, and they just barely get my opponent's deployment zone. The Caimans do some more ripping and tearing. They lose one more Caiman for their efforts. Still 2 flags alive in the end of the game, which is nice. And this is where we end it.
So when it's all said and done, we tally up the points, and this ends up being a 16-4 Empire Sonnstahl victory, with the heavy infantry that beat the skinks getting to claim the objective. Yeah, I ended up having, a couple units that were only partial. I still had 1 rider alive of those 8 riders with the brace of pistols. I still had the 2 flags alive. My big block heavy infantry in the middle, the big parent unit weren't under quarters. So yeah, I ended up having a decent chunk of points with all my characters, most of my core alive. So yeah. And, from my opponent, I pretty much just got his alpha. I got his spearbacks, his other dinosaurs, and his skinks. So it ended up, only being about 1,000-point difference between the 2 of us. And the steam tank didn't even have points either. So yeah, really great on that part. Point-wise conservation, I guess you could say. And very surprising getting those heavy infantry to overrun. I want to say they overran so far. They ran 11 inches to just be like 2 inches into the deployment zone. So well done, heavy infantry, beating the skinks. That was crucial. Looking back, it's quite interesting. Part of me almost wonders if my opponent should have taken alchemy just to make sure he could get rid of the steam tank. Because that's mostly what it would have been for. The pyromancy obviously had a lot of targets for the heavy infantry and the flagellants, but yeah, thought kind of crossed my mind. Well, everybody, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this battle report, and I'm going to be hoping to make another one very soon. See ya.